As moon boys worldwide squeal and squeak, watching their precious crypto coins swirl the toilet down to $0, the stock market has also begun one of its largest dumpulations of all time. But why is this happening, and will it ever end? Or will I have to pivot from crypto influencer to toilet bowl boy at my local fast food restaurant? So if you think this dump is big, but you also understand we haven't even seen big yet, hit that like and subscribe. Get signed up with Femex or BITUNIX if you want to buy Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. And without any further ado, let's completely and absolutely talk about the price of Bitcoin, which at this very second is not quite, but let's see actually how much more dumping we would need to actually set a new lower low, about another 1 or 2%. The low set back on February 28th, just a couple of days ago, or about 2 weeks ago, was slightly underneath 79,000. And so far we have not set a lower low. However, as I've been discussing a couple of things the last few videos, one, personally filling completely the CME gap is, in my opinion, very likely, but also I think necessary. We see the fear and greed index on the weekly chart is the lowest that it's been, if we scroll all the way back, since right here. What was this? This was the lows of the Bitcoin bear market at 15,000 US dollars. The weekly chart Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index is at the levels that we were at when Bitcoin was the lowest price that it was in the entire bear market. Fear is abundant. We're going to be talking about why as well, and why I think in the short term, as I've been saying the last couple of videos, it is likely we are going lower. As I've been saying about the mid to even low 70Ks as a Bitcoin target, we still haven't gotten there, right? So really nothing to update in terms of that specifically, but there are some really big things that I do want to talk about. So Bitcoin just made the biggest weekly price drop in its history with a over $13,000 red weekly candle. Very big. Look at this, very big. We also see fears at the same levels we saw during the COVID-19 crash and 2022 bottom. All of this, while we have this positive macro backdrop, but there is a bearish macro backdrop in a different sense. In terms of, if we zoom out, really, if we look at what's happening with Bitcoin, it's all extremely positive. However, what's happening with everything else macroeconomically is not in the short term. But I want to talk about something extremely big here, and this is exactly what I believe we're witnessing. Basically, the pivot that we're seeing is happening. We're seeing that Trump is trying to force these low rates, and we're going to talk about in a second why. But also, remember how crazy markets moved when the printer turned back on and rates were low. Alex Becker says he sees Trump forcing low rates and pumping all risk markets. Alts will return to their all-time highs in a single weekly candle when it does happen. But for right now, we're going to have to be pretty bored. And as well, Trump wants to crash the stock market, which is happening. The US government has to refinance $7 trillion of debt in the next 6 months. There's no way that he wants to refinance it at the current 10-year yields. He's trying to crash the stock market and pump bond prices. As bond prices go up, yields will come down. The US government will be able to refinance debt for cheap, and lower bond yields will push the Fed to do rate cuts, which is bullish for risk on assets. In the short term, however, this is probably, as I've been saying maybe the last 4 or 5 videos, only going to get worse, right? This is this is supposed to be the most painful short-term strategy there is, but there is a strategy for coming out of it. And as I just highlighted even in this post, we're going to see a massive, very likely, again, nothing's guaranteed. It's also not guaranteed we're going to have a massive dump, just like it's not guaranteed we will then have a massive reaction pump. But a massive V recovery as a reaction to this will come at some point, and I can take a guess that 99% of people are going to miss that massive V recovery, even people that are spending all their time in the markets right now. Additionally, we see long liquidations completely mooning, biggest wipeout since the choke point 1 FTX meltdowns. Good news, it's over, according to Marty Party on X. The longs are out. And Japan also, this is big news, is cutting tax on Bitcoin gains from 55% down to 20%. But the main idea here is to not get caught up in what is going to most likely be a very volatile, very dumpy period that we're currently in the midst of. Now, we have yet, again, This could change, and I personally expect it to change in the short term. See a lower low here on the Bitcoin price in terms of this low we set back just like 2 weeks ago. Look at, this is the SPX. This is, I mean, if you guys are paying attention also, this is what the Trump administration said they were going to do. And in the short term, as I've been saying, and people for some reason also don't like to believe that it's possible we get extreme short-term pain for potential long-term gain. There's a lot of bearish people that are just thinking, no, it's going to be short-term pain, medium-term pain, long-term pain, everything's over. Those people are never right. Okay, so you have to keep your emotions out of it, because those people are only going on emotions and disdain really for the current lack of pumpy prices. But again, I personally think, and I think there's no other, and also the craziest thing too is the DXY is cratering along with everything else. Everything is cratering. Bitcoin, I mean, look at the SPX, for example, just crossed below its 100-day moving average. The 21 and 50-day moving averages had a bearish cross as well. Everything is dumping, right? It's a very dumpy situation. In fact, with the stock market being down, the SPX down over 2% right now, and Bitcoin's down less than 1%. I mean, I personally think, Bitcoin's getting dumped on, absolutely. I'm not saying that Bitcoin's doing well, but I mean, I guess relatively, the fact that SPX is down 2%, Bitcoin's down 1%. We have to keep in mind the M2, the money supply has been slowly increasing, and there is a lag with that. So there's a lot of factors going on, but really, if I would have to give you my best estimate for the short term, is that it's probably gonna get worse. I've been saying this the last like 4 or 5 videos that I've made. And I can't make a video every day just saying the same thing, but there was some slightly newer things to update today. And really the key takeaway though is that very likely in the short term, there is no reason in the short term why we're all of a sudden just gonna start pumping, okay? Even though the infrastructure, the policy, the regulatory clarity that we're receiving in the crypto space has never been better, we are going through something bigger than that. And if you're only looking at Bitcoin only, you're going to be missing that picture, right? You're going to be like, wow, what's going on? Why are we not pumping? Everything should be going up. If you zoom out, which is not hard to do, and most people I think do, but if you zoom out and look what's happening with policy currently and with this strategy to crash the stock market, trying to refinance and basically look at everything more globally and macroeconomically instead of just, because I think, again, people have the tendency to only look at things in the very, very short term and not understand a bigger picture, which is what is trying to be strategized or deployed right now, which is a more longer term outlook. If you're only looking at the short term, things look scary. And that is exactly why the fear and greed index is so full of fear right now. It's indicating how full of fear this market is, because people are short term oriented, looking at the short term, and they're very scared. But as I keep saying, there is no reason, based on what I'm seeing and also what it looks to be like the strategy currently is, there is no reason why we should expect a pump in the very, very short term. This, again, looks like we are going to get pushed lower. Really, I mean, what are some levels? I mean, the 50-week moving average is right here around that around the $75,000 level. Look how quickly also the weekly RSI for Bitcoin has downturned. The bigger dump we get, the quicker this is going to switch as well. So nobody can predict exactly when we're going to reset. But one thing that out of everything, one of the things I'm most confident in is that when this market does pump, it is going to make up most of the ground that it's lost and still might lose in such a short amount of time that I think 99% of market participants are going to get caught off guard and not benefit from it if they're actively trading. If you're just holding spot positions, it doesn't matter because you just have your positions and you could just go on a vacation for a year, and if we pump, we pump. If we dump, we dump. You don't have to actively manage them really if you're like investing in Bitcoin or something. But yeah, I think that there's going to be a very quick recovery, but I don't think that's in the near future unless we start to see a massive change in policy macroeconomically and globally, and if we start to see rates and money printing really kick on. But as of right now, again, we haven't actually, this is a really good chart to just look at quickly. We haven't even retested this area of the range we spent all this time in, meaning like, guys, we could go another $10,000 lower and that would still just be a retest of those previous levels. But that's one of the things that's so hard for people to believe right now, is that sentiment is awful, primarily because altcoins have performed so poorly this cycle. Bitcoin itself, honestly, has so far been performing pretty well this cycle, but altcoins are down so bad, which is why people are so mentally destroyed from this. Bitcoin is down 27% from its all-time highs, pretty on par for crypto and Bitcoin, or for Bitcoin specifically. But again, the sentiment is awful. I remember a couple weeks ago when Bitcoin was up here at 96K, sentiment was awful then. It's even worse now, right? And that's not going to change until really global things start to change and risk on assets in general start pumping. And you can see what risk on assets are doing right now, dumping. And get signed up with FEMIX or BITUNIX below if you want Bitcoin altcoins or trade. Without any further ado,